Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Simply Hooked, a crochet podcast. I'm your host, Marcy, a crochet artist, mom, and creative entrepreneur. Join me as we explore the art of crochet and the beauty of being uniquely made. So welcome back to part 2 of this 8-part series on the biggest lessons I have learned while scaling my crochet business. So last week we talked about the importance of creating multiple revenue streams, and today we are tackling something that took me way too long to take seriously, which is SEO. If you have ever uploaded a product to Etsy, your website, or even Pinterest and thought, why isn't anyone finding this? This episode is for you. SEO, or search engine optimization, is the key to making sure your products actually show up when people are searching for them. Now, it is not the end-all be-all of sales, because once people find you, you need to make sure you have great photos, good copy, social proof, cohesive branding. There's so many other elements that go into it. But in my opinion, it all really starts with SEO. And to be transparent, I used to ignore SEO completely. Years ago, when I would hear someone talk about it, I just tuned out and moved on. I was not interested. Yes, I wanted to sell my crocheted items on Etsy, but for some reason, I had no interest in the nitty-gritty details of SEO. But a couple years ago, when I got more serious about growing my e-commerce business, I got super into it. It's funny how when you get serious about growing a business, things like SEO all of a sudden become quite fascinating. So I took a very deep dive into SEO for well over a year, researching, testing keywords on all the different platforms. It was a lot, and it's really something that you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time and effort to. But once you figure it out, you will notice a difference. I saw a massive shift in my business after I started taking this seriously. So today I wanted to break it all down: how SEO works, simple strategies to get started, and why better SEO equals more sales. All right, so I'm going to start with one of the biggest SEO mistakes to avoid. I used to do this for years. I'm sure I'm not the only one, so I hope this is helpful. When I used to crochet finished products and list them on Etsy, I primarily made stuffed animals, and I gave them all names, okay? Which is great. It's cute. It's good for craft markets. But it really has little to no value online. So I would post plushies with the product title of Terrence the teddy bear and Samson the sheep. And that was it. That's all I put in the title. I never considered the fact that no one, absolutely no one, was typing in Samson the sheep into Etsy's search bar. I did not make the connection that the product title needed to be what people were searching for. Just completely over my head, did not make that connection. But once I learned that I needed to start thinking like my customer and adding keywords to my title that they are likely using to search for a product like mine, that's when the light bulb went off and everything changed. So today, instead of listing Samson the sheep, I would probably say crochet sheep plushie, soft lamb stuffed animal, unique baby shower gift, or decor for a farm-themed nursery. So now my product would actually be discoverable by people searching for those things. If people are looking for a handmade plushie, you have to think about, what do they need it for? Well, they want a unique baby shower gift. They want unique decor for a nursery. If they know that the theme of the nursery is animals and farm, they might want it for that. So you have to start thinking like your customer. And that is when you meet each other online. So you kind of just have to start thinking like your customer. And that is how they will find you. So that's sort of a broad overview example to get started. But one of the catalysts that really got me going with SEO was a couple years ago. I was listening to a Facebook Live with Dana Midkiff. And if you're in the handmade world, you probably know who I'm talking about. She's a guru on all things Amazon handmade. And a couple years ago, she launched an SEO course specifically about selling on Amazon. And during one of her videos promoting the course, she was explaining how SEO is different for Google, Etsy, and Amazon. And all of a sudden, my ears kind of perked up, like, what? It's different for all three? And she explained that you need to do keyword research for all three of these platforms, and then tailor your listings, tags, titles, and descriptions to match the results of your keyword research. I don't know what it was about that day, but for the first time ever, I heard this talk about SEO, and I was just all ears. I was hanging on to every word she was saying, trying to soak it in. It must have just been the shift in getting serious about growing my business. So I did end up buying her Amazon SEO course, which was great. I learned so much from it. I applied everything that she taught me in my listings. And 6 months later, I had $4,000 in sales on Amazon in the month of December alone. And I'm talking like the first 2 weeks of December, really. I'm not kidding. So now I also got my business trademarked that year on Amazon so I could join the brand registry program, which also helped. But for sure, the SEO changes I made a big difference. And I'll go into more details about selling on Amazon in another episode. But one tip I wanted to share with Amazon SEO, if you are selling on there and you want to start trying to optimize your listings, use the search bar to help find keywords. So you'll notice when you start typing in something that Amazon automatically tries to guess what you're going to type next. And the reason it does that is because those are the search terms that people are typing in the most. So use those words to your advantage. And it could be words that you had never even thought of before, but that are associated with your product. It's a great way to brainstorm new keywords that you hadn't thought of before. And then start using those keywords in your titles and descriptions. So I took a couple months to really dive into Amazon. I ended up creating an Excel sheet with 3 columns, Amazon, Google, and Etsy. I just brain dumped all of the keywords that I could think of for my products. And I did this search bar research for all 3 of these platforms. And I would just add everything onto this Excel sheet. And I just had this master list of keywords. And it took a lot of time to do, but I did it. I'm so glad I did. And then I would just pull from those and start trying it out. Try out make the first 3 words in the title are the most important. So I would play around with using different sets of those first 3 words and let it go 2 to 3 weeks. Don't touch it. See what happens. And if nothing really significant changed, well, try out 3 more words. So that's why it took so long, but eventually kind of figured it out. So after I felt like I had figured out Amazon SEO better, or at least had a better understanding of it, I moved on to Etsy. I actually enrolled in 2 courses that helped tremendously. One was by Jenny Hall. I'm not sure if she still does it anymore because I couldn't find her website when I looked, but she is an Etsy strategist, and she had an SEO course. I think it was like $47, and it was a 2-hour webinar where she just broke down all of the SEO strategies for Etsy, and it was so helpful. So I started implementing everything that she suggested on there. If I can find that course, I will put it in the show notes. The other thing I did was a podcast search for SEO episodes specifically for Etsy. And surprisingly, there are a lot of them. I probably listened to every single one that I found, and they're all so helpful. And one of them was the Grow My Etsy Shop podcast with Jared Robinson. And he is a wealth of knowledge with Etsy and has a lot of good episodes specifically about SEO. And he also offered a low-cost course about SEO. So I took his course. It was great. I implemented everything that he suggested. So he also recommended using programs like eRank and Marmalade to help find keywords, specifically on Etsy. So I got subscriptions to both, and I just went to town for like 2 months. These are very low-cost programs. I mean, eRank is like $6 a month, and Marmalade, I think, is $19. So I just got the subscription. They're monthly. I got it for 2 months and just went bananas doing research, and then that was kind of it. So these two programs are so helpful. If you sell on Etsy, I recommend getting both of them and do as much research as you can. And also use the search bar on Etsy the same way you did it on Amazon. That is also helpful. And all those new words that pop up as you're typing, add them to your Excel sheet, add them to your brain dump, and just grow that list as much as you can. Something else to do is go on YouTube and do a search for Etsy SEO. It is shocking how many people have YouTube videos talking about Etsy SEO. I would just be mindful of the date when the video was published. If you look at a video from 2020, I think the algorithm on Etsy was much different in 2020 than it is in 2025. So just be mindful of the date and try to watch the ones that are most recent. So overall, SEO is a lot of trial and error. I wish it was a simple cut and dry process, but it's really not. You just have to try all of these new keywords that you've gathered. Give your listings 2 to 3 weeks with the new keywords and see what happens. See if you get more sales. So it really is a long game, but I promise it is so worth it when you figure it out. Something else you might want to try is ChatGPT. Now, this wasn't really around when I was doing my deep dive into SEO, but I definitely would use it today if I was optimizing my listings. I even use ChatGPT now to help me name things like these podcast episodes. I just plug in a prompt that says, here's the transcript to my next podcast episode. Please give me an SEO optimized title for this episode. And what it spits out is pretty darn good, in my opinion. So that's just another tool to have in your belt. Also, with Etsy, a quick tip. If you are able, I would definitely run Etsy ads. Now, I would not run them with the intention initially of having a big return on ad spend. Run the ads with the intention of gathering data. Because Etsy does this really cool thing when you run ads. They collect a list of all the keywords that people typed into the search bar to find your listings. And they share that list with you. And this list is a wealth of information. So the first couple of months that I ran Etsy ads, it was really not for financial gain. It was an investment in the data because I would take all of the keywords from that list that people were typing in and then add those to my Excel sheet and continue growing my brain dump of keywords and started applying them to my own listings and see what would happen. And the trial and error continues. So when you do start optimizing your listings, you want to use clear, keyword-rich product titles. So it's not just, so if you're also a crochet designer, you're not just typing in a cute bunny pattern. You're saying it's an easy crochet bunny amigurumi pattern, PDF, instant download. This is what people are typing in. They want to find patterns that are easy. They want patterns that are a PDF download. And they're using words like beginner friendly. They're using words like stuffed animals or plushies or amigurumi or stuffies. I've even seen that word come up recently. The key is to just think like the customer. If you were searching for a crochet pattern, what would you type in? And you just add these keywords into your entire listing. Sprinkle it all the way through. Put it in the title. Put it in those tags. Put it in the description. At the top of the description, the middle of the description, and the end of the description. So that should help you get started a little bit with Etsy SEO. Then there was Google. Now, there is still a slight mystery to Google for me, but I am certainly better off today than I was a year ago with it. I still recommend using the search bar like you did with the other two platforms. Google also does the thing where it guesses your next word. So add those to your list. But it's so differently how the customers that use Google versus Etsy versus Amazon are truly a different type of customer. Like personally, I use Amazon more than anything. If I didn't sell on Etsy, I probably wouldn't use Etsy. And same with Google. I don't really go, Google's not my go-to for shopping. I always go to Amazon. I mean, it really depends what you're looking for, of course, but it's just so interesting how those are three different audiences and they search for things differently. So when it comes to Google, this applies if you have your own website primarily. It's also good for things like Pinterest. The first thing that I would recommend doing after you do the search bar is get a free trial to SEMrush. That's SEM Rush. I was watching a YouTube video. I think this is how I found out about it. And the person that was doing the YouTube video was talking about SEO on Google, and they recommended, they were an affiliate for SEMrush, and they had a code where you could get like a 14-day free trial. And so y'all, I went nuts for 14 days. I did so much research. I just typed in everything I possibly could. It's such a great tool. SEMrush is something you definitely want to look into if you want to optimize your online presence. It offers keyword research, site audits, rank tracking, competitor analysis, and other insights to improve your search rankings and drive traffic. It's a little pricey, but I understand why. I mean, it has really incredible value. I believe it's like $120 or $150 a month. So I've got to be honest, I did the 14-day free trial. I did as much research as I could, and then I canceled it. I'm not quite there yet, but I will be when my business grows a little more. This is definitely one of the subscriptions that I will get first because I think it is worth every penny of the $120 or $150 a month that it costs. It really does provide a lot of value. So give that a try. And hopefully they still have a free trial that you can try it out. While I was doing my podcast search for SEO episodes, I heard someone compare SEO to Google Maps. And they were saying how poor SEO is like using Google Maps and not plugging in an address for the destination. Like you don't know where you're going. You cannot go anywhere because you don't know your destination. And it's kind of like if you put your products out there and don't put any effort into SEO, it's like not having a destination in Google Maps. No one is going to find you. They have to know where you are. And you have to tell them. You have to guide them there. You have to channel their thought process and do the research to figure out the most common keywords that your customer is using to find your products. The better SEO you have, the more your listings will pop up in search results, the more eyes are on your product, and therefore the more sales you're going to get. You just need to get into the mind of the buyer. And I'll share some stats real quick. These are some Etsy stats. So after about 6 months of implementing what I had learned with Etsy SEO, I started to see a big increase in traffic and sales. And so instead of just listing products and hoping for the best, I was strategically positioning my business so that my ideal customers could actually find me. So in 2021, this is before I cared about SEO, and for several years prior to that, my average number of visitors to my shop for the entire year was 1,800. That is terrible, okay? So in 2022, when I wrote my first 3 patterns, that also helped because adding new listings in general is really good for the Etsy algorithm, and I rarely did that before. So when I added those 3 listings, my visitors grew to 5,800 for the year, which was great. So I'm like, okay, I'm making progress. And then it was in 2023 when I discovered this almighty SEO and started optimizing all of my listings. And that year, my visitors jumped to 22,000. And then in 2024, there were almost 26,000. So I'm continuing this upward trajectory, and I think a lot of it, I won't say that it was 100% due to SEO, because I made several other changes to optimize my shop. But in 2023, for sure, SEO was what I was focusing on the most, and I saw that huge jump. So people were finally finding my products. And with the patterns, it was nice because I would upload a new pattern probably every 2 weeks. And as long as you are consistently adding new listings on Etsy and you have good SEO and you're getting good reviews from customers, 5-star reviews, then you're in a pretty sweet spot for Etsy's algorithm. Those are the 3 things they like to see the most. Another term that you might hear as you start doing SEO research are long tail keywords. So a short tail versus long tail is a pretty big difference. A short tail keyword is like crochet pattern, but a long tail keyword is beginner friendly crochet bunny amigurumi pattern. The more long tail keywords that you have in your listings and your descriptions means fewer people are searching for those longer phrases, but the people who are doing those searches are more likely to actually buy from you because you have exactly what they are searching for. So the more long tail keywords you can have, the better. The more details that you can add into your titles, tags, and descriptions, the better. So SEO is not something that you do once and forget about. It really is an ongoing process. I feel like I've got a pretty good system on all 3 of my platforms at this point, but I still go in every so often. If I see a listing that hasn't had a sale in a long time, I'm like, all right, let me make some tweaks, and so I'll probably change up the SEO or something else on it. So it's an ongoing process, but the reward is so worth it. If you are feeling overwhelmed with all of this information, just start with 1 listing. Optimize the title, rewrite the description, sprinkling in those new keywords, and just start paying attention to what your customers are searching for. Check your stats. See if it's making a difference. So your challenge for this week is to take one of your product listings, tweak it using these SEO strategies that we talked about, add better keywords, rewrite your description, and start thinking like your customer. And remember, SEO isn't just about boosting sales, it's about building a sustainable business that people can find. If you put in the effort now, your products will continue to bring in traffic for months and years to come. So next week, we are talking about a huge mindset shift that changed the way I market my products. Reframing your products with purpose. I'll be sharing how I stopped selling quote-unquote cute crochet plushies and started selling meaningful experiences, gifts, and solutions to my customers' problems. It's really a game changer in business, and I cannot wait to share it with you. So thank you for joining me today for part 2 of this mini-series. If you love this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to check out the show notes for a link to a free donkey pattern I designed and a crochet starter kit if you are interested in learning crochet. If you want to connect, find me on Instagram at simplyhooked1 or send me an email to hello@marcymade.co. Until next time, my friends, keep creating, keep dreaming, and remember, you were uniquely made for something beautiful.